don't know why.
There's a fire beneath my skin. There's a fever that makes me ill. Gotta love, a love that kills. I got 24 hours to live. Come back. I'm down on my knees. Come back. I'm begging you, please.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Shanth and Jetty, and this is Shanth and Jetty Art. What's up, Stephen Rockwood? How you doing? It's good to see you, man. I just was looking at my hair, and it looked like I had an awning over my face. It's good to see you. Hope things are well. I had all manner of technical difficulty yesterday when I tried to stream, so we'll see how it goes today. But I'm doing some painting. By the way, I watched your process video the other day on your YouTube channel. That's great. That was great stuff. Keep up the good work. Very nice. But I've been working on Nosfero today. Had a long, crazy day yesterday. I don't know if how many of you guys who are watching this were in the stream with Michael Bancroft. Hold on a second here. Let me see if I can get this to work here. Here we go. And Rob, but I was up at till 4 in the morning watching that. It was a great stream, and I was just like, oh my god, I was so out of it by the time the stream ended. But I thought they had a really great conversation, and I feel as though, just looking at the title of Michael's video today, it looks like he's going to be, kind of talking about these things, some of these issues they were talking about the other night. But it was a great stream for those of you guys who haven't seen it. It's worth checking out. Michael was, I was talking to my wife about it today, and I was saying, it's, he's such a voice of calm and reason, and it's kind of refreshing, and it's something that I find myself thinking about a lot when I'm doing my work, and thinking about this whole idea of what it means to be an independent creator, and what are the pitfalls of it, and what are the things that we have to watch out for. And this morning, it's funny, I went to bed this morning, but it was still on my mind when I had the second part of the morning. And I watched a couple of interesting videos, not even remotely Comicsgate related. Sometimes you just got to get some sleep. And I love boxing, in case anybody wonders. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm sure you saw me retweet Canelo Alvarez training. I'm a massive, massive boxing fan. But I was watching this interview with Tyson Fury, who I'm sure a lot of you guys know. He's been in the news because of his trilogy with Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber. And it was an interesting interview because he was talking about depression. And he was talking about his really awful struggles with depression. And what I thought was kind of interesting about it, and something I don't hear people talk about enough, but may be in some ways tied to what Michael's talking about tonight with that question, I think it's in the thumbnail, it said something like, are you happy? Comicsgate, are you happy? Or something. And one of the things that was interesting to me about Tyson Fury's story that you don't hear people talk about a lot is that his depression, basically, that he was struggling with, came about after he became beat Vladimir Klitschko and became the heavyweight champion of the world, a goal that he had had his entire life. And something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and I've met a lot of people, and including myself, who have experienced this, is that sometimes when we're successful and we have our work, things go well, the assumption is that we're going to be relaxed. But I do think that there is plenty of evidence that says, depending on your temperament, it can be really easy to descend into stress and depression. Artists find that all the time. They do a great work or they make a great film. It's not an unusual kind of thing. And one of the most natural things that we always do whenever we're trying to figure out what's going on with us, why we feel down, is we ask this really specific question that seems incredibly logical. You've probably asked this, yourselves, if you've ever run into a creative, or run into a point where you're depressed after a success or when things are going well. And the question is, what's wrong with me? And, or what's wrong in the world, or what's wrong with the situation that I'm in? And a lot of times, one of the things that people fail to ask is, what is the big change that I'm having trouble dealing with? And sometimes the question can be, what's right with me? Why do people who gain a ton of success, whether it's in sports or CG or entertainment or Hollywood, what is it that makes some people have an easier time handling that? And what is it that makes some people have an easier time handling setbacks and to keep going? There's this kind of internal integrity that I think is really important, and fortitude. And I haven't talked a lot about this in terms of on these streams, but here we are. But one of the things that has made this project so important to me, and one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, is because, when I was doing my first 2 art books and self-publishing them, it had a huge impact on me. Like, the success of those campaigns really kind of shocked me. And I was really surprised that they did so well, and I was also really just surprised that, when they did well, I was almost kind of like, I didn't know what to do. I was kind of shocked about that. And I do think that one of the things that people can, what we do when things are going well oftentimes, I don't frankly do it as much, but I'm sure there was a time when, I don't have a lot of experience with that across the board, but one of the things I find people running into is trying to find things to be stressed out about. Now, for a lot of people, and myself included, I kind of think that when things happen that are great, I'm so surprised by them, sometimes I don't know how to process them. But it's something just to bear in mind a little bit, because it's something that I think about with a lot of really successful people in CG who have been doing it, for a couple of years now, is that the people who've stuck around and the people who've been able to, operate at a very high level, there's an incredible fortitude they have. They've been through changes, they've had setbacks, they've been through all of these different things. And sometimes, it's just a part of the process. It's a part of the process of getting your work out there. And so I was thinking the other day as I was working on this project, and I'm painting and, getting all of this stuff done, I had a moment where I kind of was looking at things and I was going, I feel stuck. Like, what's the issue? Like, why am I hitting a creative wall right now? Or not even a creative wall. Why am I feeling like, run down? And it just really got me thinking when I was, up last night, how important it is for us to make sure that we stay on target, as many have said, and we try to remember that we have to make sure we're just, keeping our own, situation and our own, selves in check, and not letting too many things, too much pollution get into our heads, which is really, really hard, because it's so easy to get sucked into this stuff as artists. It's one of the easiest things in the world to do as an artist or as a creator or whatever you're doing is take a look at somebody else and compare your weaknesses to their strengths. And it's a terrible road to go down. And one of the things that I think is really important for us is being able to make sure we're being able to look at the things that we could do better in a pragmatic and rational way, and focus in on what we need to do, but also making sure we acknowledge and celebrate our accomplishments, and that we're kind of aware of like that we're fortunate. And I've been feeling, I got to be honest with you, I've been feeling really fortunate lately. And I've had to kind of step back and go, wow, comics is a dream for me. And it's not even just a dream. I love the work. I love doing it. And for a while there, you know, when I was a new parent and I was having all these huge life changes, got married, my father-in-law passed away, I kind of lost that. And I was very close to my father-in-law, like unbelievably close to him. He was just an amazing guy. When he passed away, and when our kids were born, and you know, postpartum and all of that kind of thing, and medical stuff, you know, and then twins, I went through this phase where I was kind of, and again, these are not, I know there's plenty of people who have far, you know, more difficult situations, so I don't mean to, you know, to sound like that was some extraordinary thing, but I went through this kind of period where I had, you know, I was not able to really even fathom doing that kind of thing, and I was just, you know, had a big break from comics. I mean, I did some jobs. I did a Flash Gordon short story that Len Wein wrote for the 75th anniversary for Arden Entertainment and things like that, and a couple of other things. But just mostly it was teaching, and mostly it was freelance illustration or concept artwork. And the thing that gets me about it is that I've been in love with comics forever. So funding my first comic book, even though, I mean, my first Indiegogo campaign raised more money that I did totally solo by its close, 30-day close, than I've hit so far on this campaign. But it's different because it's comics. And comics mean a ton to me. And I love this art form. This art form, no way I could say it other than it really saved my life. Like, it really was there for me at a you know, really critical time when I needed heroes and I needed these stories, right? And so I've been thinking a lot about that lately, and I've been thinking a lot about how do you as an artist, or how do any of us as artists and creators or fans or just people living our lives, how do we make sure that we take care of the healthy things and the healthy ideas when there's so much, it's so much easier and appealing and easier to get sucked into the negatives. And I've been finding that I'm having this conversation with a lot of people. And the thing I've been thinking a lot about lately is how when we work and how when we're starting our day is this this zone that a lot of the people that frankly CG and Comicsgate is trying to be the opposition of. They wake up in the morning like, and I live up in Rhode Island, but how people who drive on 95 or the highway up here think about every other driver, that like everyone out there is out to thwart you and ruin your life, and the person who cuts you off when you're driving on the highway, like they woke up that morning knowing what was going on in your head. It's kind of this weird adolescent narcissism that, you know, the whole world is centered on you and also conspiring against you. And the problem with that is that a lot of the resources that we have right now, it's easy to get sucked into that. And you know, for me, one of the things I've really been enjoying is spending a lot of time looking at YouTube videos and other forms of entertainment that don't get into that stuff. Hey, Sumo Thori, how you doing? Good to see you, boss. Oh, I'm starting to lag? Huh. We'll see. What point did I lag at? Let me see what's going on with that. That's really weird. Hang on a second. Options. High quality video mode. Stream size, let's see. No, it says pretty standard. I think it's supposed to adjust. Let's see what happens. I'm wondering why that's... God, I need to put a ball cap on. My hair is like gone nuts. Let me see here. Where is my ball cap? Let me know if it's still lagging in a second here. We'll see what we can do. Let's see here. Where's my... I can't find my Enjetti art one, so I'll go with this. There we go. We'll try this one. You're probably... I don't think you're the cause of the lag. I think that's 100% on my end. So let me just make sure I don't have any... Oh, thank you. I love this hound, too. Yeah, I love this character. But yeah, let me see. Guys, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I know that Michael's going to be streaming in a little bit, too. So, but I don't know why we're having... I unplugged the router the other night to try to figure out what the issue was. And I just think it could be that Yeah, I could be doing something that taxes this stream a lot. I don't think I have a lot going on. Oh, cool. Awesome. I don't think I do. No. And, let's see. Back up at the same time every day. I've never seen you lag late at night. Yeah, I know. That's true. I will tell... I'm going to let you in on a secret. So, you asked me if I have any devices that cause a lag. Alright. Okay, it's just us, folks. I've got 2 teenagers who use the internet that can cause a lag. Oh my god. Yeah, I assumed you were kidding. Yeah, we'll all be in that chat anyway. So of course I know you're kidding. But yeah, no, it's one of those things that I watch a lot of YouTube channels, and that I don't know if I've talked about a lot here, but one of them is a YouTube channel called The Townsends, where they talk about 18th century living and the history of this country, and there's this great reverence for it, and they show all of these different techniques from the time. Sometimes it's, people working with, doing hand design work on like a leather bag or something like that, or making bricks, or how to write with a quill, all this amazing sort of stuff. Hey, Fallout Zone G, good to see you. And one of the things about it for me is, I know, right? But, we just got to think of them as future Comicsgate customers. You know what's so funny, too? Speaking of that, so there is... we're not speaking of that, but when you guys come in here, how can I not have a conversation with you? Someone needs to explain that to me, because I can't do it. I'm really excited about the Lily book that Ethan is doing. Can someone in the chat tell me who the artist is? I think they're a manga artist, he was saying, or they have a manga-like style. And they're doing a book that's about Lily, and it looks amazing. And I think my daughter would love it. She likes Attack on Titan and that kind of thing, and I just have a feeling that she'll dig it. And I'm curious to see how it goes. And my son, I got him copies of Graveyard Shift Volume 1 and 2 that came just a couple weeks ago, I think it was. Maybe. It was when I did the review, was the day after they arrived here. But yeah, I mean, it's, teenagers. You gotta love it, right? It's a big part of it. But yeah, that book looks amazing. But yeah, the thing that's interesting is, so I've been around Comicsgate since about 2018 or so. Like, I don't know if those are considered the early days. I know there was the review phase of it, and then there was the self-publishing phase, and I kind of showed up around the self-publishing phase of it. And the thing about it is that I've seen it go through, some ebbs and flows, and, seeing how, certain creators have come in and gone and all that kind of thing. And the thing I started thinking about last night was this whole idea of getting sucked into what other people are doing, and which is, I think, a completely natural thing. I saw it when I was a teacher with students and everything like that. And I started thinking about how susceptible any of us are, including myself, of, kind of just overthinking what's going on in other people's heads. And there's this quote that I grew up with in the South that some of you guys probably have heard of before. I'm assuming it wasn't just a Southern expression. It's probably just an American expression. But the quote goes like this. It says, you wouldn't be so concerned about what people thought about you if you knew how seldom they did. And I love that quote. It's a really useful quote for me. And so I always think about, when I'm looking at, artists, is that it's easy to kind of, when I've seen certain phases where people are trying to figure out, like, how they fit into a particular community, and with something as, in my opinion anyway, something as open as Comicsgate is and open to new people coming in, you kind of just have to make your own place. And you have to have that resolve and that confidence to just make your stuff and figure out, what is the way that you talk? How do you think about things? And something that's come up a few times when people are talking about me is that they were describing my streams as being, mellow. And it's kind of a relaxing sort of stream. Now, I don't ever really think about what I seem like to other people, but that's not the first time I've heard that. And so I really, today I was thinking about that a lot and thinking, well, what does that mean? What is it? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And then I sort of just thought about it, and realized, well, there's always room to improve and get better at all of the things that one's going to need to get better at, right? To be in a situation where you're responsible for your own marketing. But at the same time, and this is me just getting rid of some of the pencil lines here for those of you guys who are looking, at the same time, you have to kind of just be yourself and evolve as an individual, and it doesn't always happen on a schedule. I've watched people who are YouTubers change so much since they started. I remember Anna was showing some of her first streams, and Ethan has shown, and I was there for a lot of the early, later streams of his, I guess we would say. And it's kind of amazing, and that evolution just sort of happens, and some people get too sucked into it and get, burned out, which I can understand. But I've learned a lot from, teaching for 18 years, that you move through a couple of generations of students and you see people change, and you sort of realize what are the things that are constant. And I imagine the learning curve, shout out to Andy Smith there, and First Man 2 learning curve, these 4 people. But I imagine it's the same with YouTube and everything, and it's the same thing with art. So the thing, not art, again, not Art T-Bear, of course, but just just art. I imagine it's the same thing. And so I've just been kind of in a state right now lately where I'm just trusting the process. I'm trusting that I'm putting my work out there. I'm doing the best stuff I can. There's a lot of stuff that's beyond our control, but everybody's going to bring something different to the table. And I don't need to control or pick what I bring to the table because it's none of my business and it's not up to me. And I think that's one of the things that I respect a lot about the YouTubers I've been looking at lately. No, it's not that artist, although that artist is awesome. But it is, I know it's a guy, I think, and this is killing me. It's, I forget what the book is called, too. I wish I knew, but it's a Lily story, and I think it's in production. He showed some pages a couple of streams ago, and I think I saw it, and I said, or put in the chat that it's, I can't wait to get that book for my daughter, because I think it just looks really cool. I don't know what age group he's shooting for with that. I don't know that it's a younger group. I think it's probably a manga age group, but hopefully it's not too light of a fare, but we'll see. So what you're seeing me do here is I usually will rough in with a blue, kind of like a Maxfield Parrish underpainting, and rough that in, and then I'll just go and wash the whole thing with a warm. The process is a lot faster than it looks, but when I've got other things, when I'm looking at the campaign and got other projects going in pages I can't show, you don't really always get to see a consistent start to finish how these things work. But this is kind of a good look at the process. I started this panel, I want to say like 15 minutes before the stream started, and this is one of those close-up shots. Let me hold on a second. You guys have got me. This makes for absolutely terrible entertainment, guys. Apologies, but I gotta look it up. I know the artist's name too. It kills me. It's like somewhere in my head. Someone beats me to it. Who the heck is this? Okay, wait a second. Nope. I'm never gonna be able to find it. Dang it. Nope. Ugh. There's too many things named Lily out there in the world, guys. I apologize. But yeah, he showed it on a stream, I want to say maybe like 6 or 7 months ago. It could have been a year for all I know. And the artist draws in a manga style. I think he's an American artist. Could be wrong on that. Boy, I'm so useful today, aren't I? And yeah, it's beautiful stuff. It's got a great line. It's digital, and it's got this really great kinetic quality to it. But I know what you're talking about with Bonds. I think that book looks beautiful. A really stunning book. And that artist is just cranking away. The book I was looking at yesterday, which was on Michael's stream, and they were talking to the guys, was it Goblin? Is it Goblin? I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Goblin Queen? Is it Goblin Queen? Someone in the chat help me. My brain is pudding right now. I was up till 5 in the morning last night, which I know is by no means the record. But I was just deep in thought last night. Like, that was a really interesting conversation they were having, and it left me with a ton of food for thought. And I was just thinking about all of the different phases. Like, what's the next phase, in terms of CG? And the conclusion I kind of came to this afternoon was, I don't need to think about that, because it's just that will take care of itself. What I need to think about is, my book and doing the best work I can possibly do. And once I came to that, I sort of was like, all right, just time to get to work on the next thing. What do I want to work on for this, and what do I want to do over here? And that's the fun part about it. Goblin Girl, thank you. I knew I can see the art and the font in my head. But for those of you guys who are watching that stream, that was some beautiful work. I loved seeing the black and whites and then the process of adding color. Really strong stuff. And I'm going to back that book as soon as I get a chance to. But yeah, it looks amazing. Really happy for those guys. And I think that was something that really inspired me last night, which was we talk a lot about the range of different artwork that is happening in CG right now. And those books, just any of the books I've mentioned, and I know I mentioned other ones from time to time, but any of those books that you hear me mention, they all have a stylistic or an approach that is somewhat unique, and they're different in that way, whether it's Narwhal's stuff or John Malin's work or, Jack the Ripper, Vampire, is it Vampire Hunter or Vampire Killer? I'm going to get that wrong, but there's such beautiful and interesting work being done that I think it's more interesting than the mainstream. And the only thing that I think we need to be focused on as artists is looking at where the really great stuff is happening. And for me right now, I don't mean being influenced by it, but looking at the amount of interesting stuff that is very unique being done in manga, and also European comics too. I love that stuff as well. So yeah, it was a really inspiring stream last night. I don't know if that's coming across, but yeah, the rants, that's right. Those were out of control, those rants. Those were out of control. Those were the nicest rants I think I've ever heard. Those guys are great. But I totally get, there is this, there's this thing that happens, or that I've started to experience now that I'm in, it's so weird, because to me, I was in CG, it's as weird as this may sound, as a customer first. And I was making art books, but they weren't comic books. But now that I'm here, one of the things that I think is a question that naturally starts to come up is, where do I fit into this? Which is a question that I don't think that you ever really think about when you're when you wake up in the morning. It's not a really great idea to ask yourself how do you fit into the grand scheme of things. And I just realized that that's not for me to decide. I just need to make the best work I can. And I think that's a great thing to kind of just to remind ourselves when we're doing our work. It's just create cool stuff. Just make your work. I remember when Ethan was saying that a lot, when he was saying, why can't people just make their own stuff? And just, we don't need all this nonsense. That was, gosh, way back when. And I think about that sometimes too, which is, I think it's because people have to process their success. Oh yeah, well that Disney one that Michael was showing on his stream was incredible. I mean, that's talk about some gorgeous work right there. I love that stuff, and that's one of the things I love about the Lucent, for that matter. He's just got a really great eye for storytelling and a really great compositional sensibility. But you see, that's the thing about it. When I go into any kind of I don't want to say genre, but any type of section of artwork, I'm looking for, I don't want the same book, that's on every, I don't want every book on the comic book shop rack, to be the exact same thing. And I just think CG is doing such an amazing job with that. And the more we look at our paper, and the more we talk about the things, things outside of comics in some ways, or things that are outside of the specifics, the more it puts fuel into us as a community. So, for example, here's I'll try to give an example and see if I can even explain this. I was watching a lot of 80s movies lately, and a lot of behind-the-scenes features on special effects. That's my fuel for making comics. I look at comics too. I look at Grips, which was a big deal to me when I was a kid. Tim Vigil's artwork. I look at Dave Stevens' artwork. I look at some of the cool stuff that's going on in CG. But for the most part, I look at movies and then I try to think about, well, how do I translate this into a dynamic comic book? How do I make this interesting? And what are the shots that I can do in comics that you can't do anywhere else? That's the stuff, interestingly enough, that, God, I was watching Graham Nolan and his month of horror movies. And he was talking about The Burbs. And I love that movie, and that totally inspires me. Or Patrick Thomas Parnell talking about action figures and his love of toys. That stuff's cool. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to show my art process. And if you guys have questions about how I work, ask. You could say, like, what kind of brush do you use? Or what kind of, whatever. I'm always happy to answer that stuff. But I love talking about, mythology and Joseph Campbell and, the sort of the trappings that I have a lot of experience with in terms of when artists are trying to learn and improve their craft. A lot of the things that they kind of run into. And from a standpoint of, being a teacher, which I think is a unique, perspective, just because when you're a teacher, you teach people who are all the same age, and you do it, in my case, for 18 years, almost 2 decades. And I've seen, one of the things that people miss a lot of times, and I guess I'll share this. God, I haven't talked about teaching since I resigned as a professor, for heaven's sake. But I'll talk about it a little bit here, because that's one of those weird things I bring to the table. Is that people always think that rock star student who comes into a classroom who can, who's got this natural ability is the person, if you're betting, who's going to be the most successful person. And it's almost never the case. I say almost never the case. The number one predictor of success is the work ethic, the discipline, and the ability to put your stuff out there. And so I see a lot of people with natural talent who, who couldn't finish work, and it really doesn't matter. And I've had students that people have said to me, "Oh, isn't that sad? The student, they just don't have that natural ability or drive." Who've gone on to have incredibly successful careers because they're just so dedicated to working hard and improving. And that, to me, anyway, is what I am. If anybody looks at the stuff I'm doing, I can assure you. One, I couldn't paint for anything when I was in college. I dreaded color. Couldn't do that at all. And I just am one of those people that watched that, Denzel Washington acceptance speech. I think it was for the NAACP Awards, but I'm not positive. And he talked about his whole mentality, which is, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And that's really what drives my work. Is that attitude. I want this stuff to be cool. I want you guys to like it. I want you guys to be into it. It's, look at this stuff. Look at this room. I mean, I mess up all the time when I'm working. You see this bookcase right here? I was trying to do something really cool, warping the perspective with it, and it's still a little bit, how I want it to be. But I had everything in the wrong place, and I had to just knock it out so that the figure and everything fit better in the composition. Because the beats for this have to go a certain way as it moves across the page, so you get a sense of how this character works, because I'm introducing people, to this world. And when I'm done, it becomes one of these books that I make. This, I'll see if you guys can see it, the square bound, it's got the little, edge there, so it's easier to open. But it becomes one of these square bound books that I do all the graphic design for and all of the artwork for. And it comes together, and it works. But that process is something that I'm really passionate about and I really enjoy. And if it's off, I gotta fix it. So I make errors all the time in my painting, and it's no different than how people imagine digital is. I just not have to knock things out sometimes, and that's the fun part of it. So yeah, I mean, it's been a really amazing process to be working on this book and to have you guys' support. And I do want to say to whoever is out there who is backer number 95, I don't know if they check out my YouTube channel or if they just found it on Indiegogo on that site, but whoever you are, thank you. It really, my wife and I sort of took a moment and were, like, wow, we were so appreciative of that, to have hit 95 backers. And we're coming up on, we're not to our goal of the first, or to whatever the first art book hit, but boy, we're very happy with how things are going and how things are progressing. So thank you guys so much for that. Much appreciated. I'm going to deliver a dynamite book for you. So going back to, here's a non sequitur, going back to Tyson Fury and going back to, what I was, talking about earlier with the process, is that sometimes one of the weirdest times in any kind of art movement is when things are going well. If you think a lot about the drama that happened in Image Comics and things like that back in the 90s, a lot of that happened when they were making millions of dollars. When things were going really well, things were the hardest. And so I've been thinking a lot about that. Like, if you look at how, tense and stressful things were in the 60s, and you look at how tense and stressful things are now, the generations that are having the sort of hardest time right now, and I'm not saying everybody in this generation, by the way, by any stretch, but they were arguably pretty good economic times. I was there. They actually came out into a better economy than I did when I graduated from school. And I think sometimes the and not everybody is the cliche of their generation, but I don't know that having a particularly a period of abundance necessarily guarantees the most creativity and the happiest times. You're getting people who have had access to the internet and anatomy books and all of this kind of stuff that were so hard to get when I was growing up in Chattanooga. And more problems, exactly. Yeah, I'll let you know if I get to the point where I have more money and then there are more problems. But it's kind of funny because I would when I'd go as a kid, we'd take trips to go to India to see family. I was looking at people in some pretty dire situations, and you would think that for some people that they're living here in the States in those kinds of situations, which do exist here. But when I see people who are not in those situations and they're miserable, I just go, maybe that's not the key. Maybe success isn't the answer. You're right. Maybe more money isn't the answer. It's important to have as much money as you can handle and deal with. Hey, Lloyd, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. And we're going to take care of that sketch for you. If my memory is serving, I'm going to take care of that for you. So don't you worry. But it's one of those things. Hey, Robin Turner, how you doing? Where you look at the comic book scene when they were having all these issues with the writers and the artists and Todd McFarlane debating Peter David. Nobody was doing terrible during that time, and so I do think that there's something to be said for being able to manage and handle the success. I mean, guys, it's when I look at what Ethan is doing, I think the thing that I'm most impressed by is how well that he has handled his success. It's a lot. Like, it's not like he was unsuccessful before by any stretch. He's, on Blu-ray commentaries and he's changing the face of Green Lantern. But, with all of these guys, once you're running your own business, look what happened to a lot of the really successful artists in the 90s. It can totally overwhelm you. You have to love the work. You have to do it for the work. And you also have to kind of have a grip on yourself when that fame comes to you. I see it with boxers a lot because I love boxing. Oh, good. My memory is correct. Excellent. And I always say to this, like you see boxers who are successful and they lose it. And then you see somebody like Manny Pacquiao who was fighting for bags of rice in abject poverty in the Philippines. And he's handling success, like no pun intended, like a champion. And now that he's retired from the sport. What is that aspect of people's character that makes it, that can be cultivated and that can help people to handle it? I spent a lot of time thinking about that because, when you have that level of success and you think, wow, I can I'm so happy with this, I'm so satisfied with it, there'll be somebody who is, what Ethan saw early on in CG. There are people who are like, why don't I have the same success that you have, who were insanely successful? It's like when Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane were competing about who had the highest selling books. And you just go, you guys were like, how many millions do you need? Do you need a bigger headstone in the end? I mean, that's crazy. And it's funny, there's this joke about academia that always makes me laugh. And it's very, very true. Which was that in academia the battles are so fierce because the stakes are so low. And it just cracks me up. And I think that it's kind of the opposite of if you can fund a comic book on Indiegogo, and a lot of people can do that, that's a great scene. Now it becomes this kind of individual pursuit that it's good to have a great community around you. Make no mistake. But at the end of the day, who's going to decide what your next story is, and who's going to decide, what those panels are going to look like? It's something that you have to kind of do on your own, and there's no one else to really look at and point to. I mean, unless you're doing a book with a group of people, but even still, for a creative relationship, you can't do that. And so you got to really kind of be, secure in yourself, and that process, I'm sure, is, more complicated the more successful you are, in crowdfunding. And you see people who come into crowdfunding and they have a good, slow, gradual, success, and they build up a reputation, and it's just, I think about that a lot, it's, when my first Indiegogo art book funded, I'm trying to remember, I think the goal was 3,000 something, I can't remember, 3,500, and I think it funded in the first 24 hours or something like that, and I had no concept of that. And you would have thought I'd won $1 million when that book funded. Like, I was like, I have to lie down. I can't believe this funded for $3,000, to me, that was like huge. I couldn't believe that many people, I think it ended with like 140 people backing it. I don't even know 140 people. So it was pretty awesome. And nothing I can, take care of my family on or anything like that, but it was the idea that people liked my artwork enough and were so supportive of investing in my work. I was like, I'm not going to let these people down. I'm going to make this book amazing. And it ended up, I think, closing out at like 7,885 or something like that. But I mean, guys, it's never lost on me when people spend money on this book and spend money on my stuff. And my attitude is I'm going to try to handle it with as much grace. I know I can do the gratitude thing, and I'm sure I can do the grace thing. But however it goes from here, and however high it goes, I'm going to make sure that you guys know that I'm going to handle whatever success I have that people, the audience, deem necessary. My goal is to handle it with the appreciation and reverence and trust you guys, that you guys say, hey, Shanth, we think you know what you're doing. We want to support your book. I'm going to trust you guys on that. I'm going to say you're right to trust me, and I'm going to deliver for you. That's my goal. All right. Hey, Darren. Good to see you, my friend. Hail, brother. Yeah, and hail chat indeed. But yeah, I'm amazed and very inspired by, how Ethan and John handle that. It's got to be, it's got to be a lot, and I learned a lot from watching them, and watching, Shane's, amazing success, watching the guys who are doing, Goblin Girl, same thing. Like, there's just, I so appreciate, what their reaction was, and I'm so happy for them. I mean, it's, I don't know. It's just the way I'm built. I mean, people ask me, it's like, why do I, when I do those, the intro videos or whatever, and however good those things work out, I do those things because I really get excited about other people's success, and I get excited about, obviously I'm invested in my own success and all that stuff, but I just don't think that enthusiasm and support for other people needs to be mutually exclusive of, your faith in yourself. And I like seeing people succeed, and I like seeing people's dreams come true. It's great, and especially when they work so hard for them, when they earn those dreams. Because at the end, I mean, if you don't work for it right, it's hollow. I mean, I'm going to bust my, on this book to make it something like, and I've delivered. One of the reasons why I wanted to do those art books before I did a Comicscape book, was I wanted people to be able to trust that they were going to get the thing, and I understand what an investment is, and what it is for you guys to have faith in these projects. People, make sure you let me know in the chat. Yesterday I was so out of it. We've been having a lot of weird weather up here in New England, and I had just a horrendous migraine yesterday. And so I was like, I started streaming. I read like when notifications were happening wrong. I want to go and see Michael's stream. So, it's I yesterday I was like, oh god, he's streaming, and I ended my stream abruptly because I was like, and it was lagging anyway. But yeah, do let me know in the chat when he's about to stream, because I want us to go check that out. But boy, I'll tell you what, there's somebody who's got an amazing voice of reason right there. He's a very chill person, and he's fun, but he's very much one of those people who helps people to get inspired and come together. Yeah, I mean, isn't that I am beginning to understand that it is a reality. Yeah, see, this is crazy. My wife has a headache today, really bad. We're that old couple now, to where it's like I get my arthritis and then my headache, and then the next day she gets it. It's like, it's hilarious. 9 Mountain Time, awesome. Yeah, okay, cool. So we got a little bit of time. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised as just the way I kind of was, my whole life. The first time I realized that there are people who really cannot be happy for other people's success. And I got to tell you guys, there were times, obviously when I was younger, where I just sort of would just be so like, why is that person successful? Or why is that thing working? I think we all go through that, but at the end of the day, that has nothing to do with what's going on with us, in our own success at all. It's the weirdest thing, and it's a terrible life to live. I just don't think in those terms, and I think if I did, if I were to act as though I thought that way, it would be dishonest, and people would see through it. I just don't feel that. It's not that I can't appreciate, people being competitive or any of those kinds of things, but I'm one of those people to where I really get Bob Ross. I get I don't know. I just get people that there are other paths to. I get Fred Rogers, who's one of my heroes. Those guys, I just really get their just the whole being kind and being productive and making cool stuff. Like, that's what it's about for me. And if I was different, maybe I would. It wouldn't be such a big deal for me. But I get really excited seeing other people's enthusiasm. I've heard that's a Virgo thing, so I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe it's just, a way that a lot of us are with empathy. And that's the other thing that's kind of interesting to me, too. One of the interesting things about when you get any group of people together is, and it's something I've seen people fall into a lot, is trying to read other people's minds and assuming that if you were doing a particular thing, or I should say, if something were to happen to you or whatever, assuming that, oh, well, I would feel this way if I did that, so they must be feeling that way. Now, that's a double-edged sword, because I remember the first time I got seriously, as a college professor, rolled by a student who was like, did the whole, I've had a hard life or whatever, and was totally manipulative. And I've met students who've had a really tough time, and they don't have that quality. And I was the kind of person where if someone comes to me and says, oh, I've had a really tough time and everything's going on, I would just believe it, because I thought, well, I've had a tough time. I know what that's like. And that's a real easy way to get rolled. It's just crazy. Darren, who you I don't even know who you I don't know who you're talking to. Is that for someone in the chat? Let me see here. Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things to where the first time that happened to me, there's this Bill Burr quote that I wrote down that I love, where he says, if you're a really nice person, you got to be careful and make people earn your niceness, because you'll become a psycho magnet. And I swear, those early days of Comicsgate, I watched Ethan be a psycho magnet, and it was pretty tough. And yes, I'm talking about Cecil. No, I'm kidding. But it's one of those things. I love Cecil. I busted my ass on that intro for Cecil. That was so much fun. The Hulk intro. There's another really great one for him too. But it's one of those things to where I was so naive. I thought people were just, meant what they said and were nice. And I got so rolled by that. Oh, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I've got to get better at that. Like, I sometimes I watch the Mike Tyson post-fight interview where he goes nuts and he says he's the best ever just to try to get into that headspace, but I'm working on it. Thank you, guys. You guys kick ass. Seriously, I never thought, like, in a million years of my life that this would be the case. Yeah. You know what? You're right. It's like there's this it's a very good point, Robin, and Steven, thanks for calling me out, man. I appreciate it. I do. It was very kind. I struggle with that shit, but I'm working on it. But there was this there's this quote that is an adaptation of another quote that my wife used to tell me, or used to share with me, that because she knew I thought this. We tell our students this, but it was, be kind. Everybody you meet is fighting a private battle you know nothing about. And I do think that you gotta sometimes be careful, right? Because we don't know what people are thinking. But I do think that there was a guy who came over to my house to take a look at our furnace. We were scheduled and it was having some trouble. Really a good dude. And he came over to my house, and I've had some respiratory things in the past, some health things. And thank you, Darren. Yeah, I know. You guys are awesome. And I said to him, I was like, hey, do you have a mask? Could you wear a mask? Now, I know that the odds of certain things happening, but then I had this thing, that I got to take kind of seriously. And I went out of my way to make sure I was helping him carry his tools and talking to him and things like that, because I didn't want him, I know this sounds stupid, but I didn't want him to think that, I think there's a lot of people who've gotten really, like, if you're a nurse and you're working with cancer patients whose immune system is compromised, you got a different reality than the politics of all this. It's a very form and function thing that you know about, right? And I just wanted to make sure, and we talked about his daughter and her success in soccer, and he left feeling, valued as a person, which is generally speaking the way I think you really want to be with people. And he got me that I wasn't just trying to control him, and I wasn't just, being whatever. And, it means something when you help people carry their tools, for God's sake, be nice to people. And, we can take care of each other. And, or we could be thoughtful and kind to each other and just not assume we know why other people are doing things. Now, if someone starts trying to wreak havoc in your life, like noticeably, like lie about you or say, in Ethan's case, call you a racist, that's a whole different kettle of fish we're talking about there. And then, you got to make sure you're standing up for yourself. And I think he's done a great job of that. But day to day in interactions, when I see somebody, I try to be slow to, I try to respond to situations as best as I can, but I really try not to react. And that's a tough thing for me. Sometimes I had to learn that because I grew up in a situation that a lot of you guys probably, can relate to, where, fight or flight was pretty much my two reflexes that I had for dealing with different stuff. And I think that, and that's actually funny enough, that's a little bit of that is in this book, which is to say, when I met my wife and my wife's family, and I'm sorry to diss them in this particular way and make light of it, but they were like the Brady Bunch, and I just did not know how to process that. I was like, what the hell are you doing marrying me? Like, it was like, I always describe it as, it was like No Country for Old Men's Anton Sugar walking into the Brady Bunch living room. Like, one of these things is not like the other, and I just was like, what am I doing here? And then I got to know my father-in-law, who had quite the experience. And I realized, oh, you can build good things for yourself, no matter where you come from and no matter what you come out of. We all have different obstacles. Some of them are, I think I'm pretty darn lucky in my life, but there were certain things I had to sort. And so I just try to take that attitude with people, and as best as I can, and not take it personally. And not get sucked into it. I'll give you a really good example, funny enough. Actually, I don't know if I should say this. Hold on a second. I hate doing that too, by the way. I hate starting a sentence like that and saying, I don't know if I should say this. But I think I should, because it's funny. I'll think on it. I'm going to think really hard on that. That's one of those situations where I probably should keep that to myself. But it was funny, and it only puts me down. So it's not anything that would be insulting to anyone else, but it's just really, it cracks me up because I think people would not understand how funny it is to me and how it just cracks me up. My sense of humor is I don't let things... I tend to... If somebody questions my character or my motivation, that'll piss me off really fast. But if somebody is not into something I'm doing, it's seldom... I mean, yeah, I want to get better and I want to make things great for people, obviously. But I don't know. My life is okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Since I kept that segue off, and I couldn't bring that sentence in for a landing, I'll tell you a story. If it is what it is. If stuff bothers you, you might not be the hugest fan of this story, but if you have seen stuff, it is what it is. So I was in India as a kid, visiting some people, and we went to this temple, and there were a lot of kids, poor kids there and things like that. And I was walking through this place, and there was this, and I was just a little older than this kid. This kid, he was crawling after us on his hands, and the reason was his legs from the knees down were bent backwards so that his feet were resting on his shoulders like this. And he was coming after us, putting his hand out for money. And I was giving him money because I would imagine that's what most of you guys would do. Most of us will do that situation. And I asked the guy, our cabbie, who was taking us through there to show us where, this place was, because we were tourists. I was like, what medical condition causes that? That's how naive and young I was. And he looked at me and he laughed. Like, he just laughed kind of like... Or he thought I was kidding. And he goes... It's not a birth defect. That's something that the adult in his life did to make him be able to get more money begging. And now you take that experience, and I think about that kid, that moment, all the time, guys. All the time. You take that experience, and then you come back, to, your life in the States or whatever it is. And I just think about that sometimes, and I just think, I am so lucky. Like, I looked at that kid, and it's not like we were identical twins or anything like that, but I was like, in another life, I could have been in that situation, and I just think I'm just so dang lucky, and I try to approach everything. There's always someone who's got it tougher and who's handling life with, just incredible grace. And I try to think about those people who handle things with grace and don't let bad experiences, be the end-all be-all of their existence. And I don't like the current narrative that people have going right now, that if you have something, I certainly have not lived this, not in my life, but if you have something bad happen to you, like you just can't recover, no. If you get nothing else about me, I am living proof that that is not the case, and I've had good things happen to me, and you have to do the work, and I've had rough things happen to me. Do the work, and just keep going and be grateful. Wake up in the morning and look at what you got. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just the thought of people having you guys know, I'm sure you guys know Jay, Drunk 3PO and things like that. He's seen like 1,000 times more of that. But as a teacher, I've seen stuff, and I've had students talk to me about stuff that's happened to them, and I've just driven home just feeling like my, guts have been hollowed out. I mean, it's rough stuff, Yes. I know. That was the thing that got me about it too, right? I thought if we were walking down the street here in the States, that's why we're so lucky. If we're walking down the street in the States and we saw that, it would be like stop, drop, and roll. But that's because we've got so much here, and we've got, we just can't, like, it's beyond our capacity to think of having a population issue and a poverty issue to that scale. And I just think I am so damn lucky. And that's why I look at that. Guys, I want this book to be a huge success. I want to be able to give my wife and my kids, my family, the life that I think they deserve, which is the best things possible. But I never will forget that kid. Like, as long as I live, and a lot of other people that I've met in my life. And I'm grateful for every penny, every dollar, every time you guys share the story, anytime you guys are talking about what I'm doing. I'm grateful for all of you guys. I really am. And I don't know how to lie about that stuff. I don't know how to fake that. I've never have. And I just don't have that skill set. And thank God. Because I don't want it. It's like, God, it's getting heavy. I hope Michael lightens the mood, because I got too heavy today. Gotta work on myself. Oh well. But I appreciate you guys is the gist of this, you know. If you know, seeing you guys sharing stuff on Twitter and you know, going, oh, check this out, and me trying to learn the technology as fast as I can in terms of, you know, how to have people on a stream and everything like that, and I'm still learning it. It's a cool place to be, and it's a place I've always wondered if it really existed my entire youth. So I do appreciate it, guys. And it's, you know, let me read. Sorry, let me adjust my glasses here. Yeah, it is. I was mentor in a gym, teacher in Inner City Boys and Girls Club for 10 years. Yes. Yeah. But it's like there was this and I still see the guy and he watches my stream sometimes. So no, I can't talk about that. Yeah, it's. I've met some people who've told me things, you know, just in terms of like, you know, people who've had like, you know, physical things or surgeries, who've told me things. It's like I couldn't like leave them at work, you know. It's like I look in the mirror and I see myself as a monster, was something a student said to me, who I'm not going to get more specific than that. And I just remember thinking, you've got such an amazingly bright spirit and so much talent, and all I see is that radiance, you know, coming off of you, and you know, you're such a great person. It made me just angry. I understood what they were experiencing. I didn't want to act like, oh, it's all in your head, in the sense of, yeah, it's an unusual experience to have, but it just made me so pissed that someone who was such a quality human being could ever have that thought. And that's just how I am. I've been this way since I was a kid. I don't know any other way. And I guess that was the big thing that I was thinking about after last night's stream, is that, you know, maybe it's the quote from Hulk 340 and the whole Peter David Hulk versus Wolverine issue, for those of you guys who know your comics, where he said, you know, the Hulk just showed me that who I am is stronger than who I thought I was, or who I, you know, think I am. And he meant it in a more, you know, negative sort of way, but I think sometimes that's what it is, you know. That's right, there you go. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes you gotta be that tough gym teacher. That's just how it is. That's how it is. But, you know, it's a very cool, you know, it's a very cool thing that, you know, in all of those situations, I haven't met anybody, maybe that's, I don't know if I can say that, but most of the people I've met who are in situations like that, the thing that helps them to persevere, sustain, and to keep going on is, and I know it was true for me, are movies or VHS, for those of you guys who are older, you know, the Return of the Jedi for me that I'd watch over and over again whenever I would feel like down, or reading Todd McFarlane's comics or Jim Lee's comics, and Extinction Agenda, or Grips, or Faust even, or The Dark Knight Returns. Those are the things that keep me sustained, and that's why this God, it's so hard for me not to use it. I know you guys are adults and you can handle it, but I'm just working on myself here. But that's why, that's right, stay for the realness. But that's why that stuff matters to me, is it's like, I would go into that comic book shop and that stuff would just take me away from the nonsense, you know, and all of the difficulty. And that aspirational thing, you know, is what made me think, hey, maybe I could be a good father. Maybe I could be a good husband. Maybe I could, you know, maybe these TV shows I'm watching, you know, like The Courtship of Eddie's Father or stuff like that, I would think, oh, maybe I could be one of those wise dads who could talk to their kids and help them out, you know, and be that teacher who helps people learn how to make artwork. And like, you know, the teachers who helped me, you know, in the whether it was Todd McFarlane, you know, on VHS tapes talking about art, that stuff was huge. And here I am, I get to do it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, hail Arrogant Apparition, absolutely. Yeah, all of you guys are awesome. Really do appreciate it. I know I'm saying that a lot tonight, but it's the zone I'm in right now. So, apologies, guys. But yeah, I mean, it's funny too when you talk about realness. I mean, that's the thing. That should be the slogan for Comicsgate. Come for the comics, stay for the realness. I think you're onto something there, Arrogant Apparition. That's to me what it is. Seeing Ethan, there's a couple of streams that really hit me on that really made me Comicsgate. And one of them was the 200K stream for the first Cyberfrog, when Ethan talked about what cancel culture, the toll it had taken. And it's not like him. Like, he's not typically like... He's good at expressing his enthusiasm and his appreciation. but it's not like he's somebody who carries on or anything like that. And that really affected me, you know. And also the 100K thousand stream where him and Andrea were celebrating, but they had this one stream where they're outside, just sitting outside, you know, with some, you know, with those torches in their lit or whatever, and they just had a couples stream, which was kind of nice, and they're sitting out in the house that essentially, you know, the movie success and royalty checks had given them, and also Comicsgate and the success with Cyberfrog and the peace of mind and moving to a new home for their family, which is great. And I remember just thinking, like, having been there from the start of how dark things were and seeing, you know, the success continue to happen for him, I just thought, what a great thing it must be for a couple that has been through what they've been through in those couple of years to be able to sit out there and enjoy time together and not have to think about, you know, and to realize they're stronger through the result of having had that experience. And I just think they're a really great inspiration for, I think I really admire his rational, you know, approach and his strategic thinking that he has, and not getting so drug into all of the emotional stuff. And I think that's, you know, one of the things where he's passionate, but he's not erratic. You know, he's got a really good compass, and that's something I really value is people who have a really good, a really even keel and a really good compass for that kind of thing. But yeah, what a dude indeed. And it was an honor it's been an honor to help his, you know, his Comicsgate King show with intros. It's been an honor, you know, when he commissioned me to do that piece. I mean, if you want to talk about a time, actually I will share this story because this is a good one and I don't think he'd mind me sharing it. The first sketch I did for the Cyberfrog piece I did for him, it was just, it sucked. I put a lot into it, but I overthought it and it was just dumb. It looked like something he'd already done, and he just was like, he sent me back the nicest email, but it was, I didn't need a lot of work to read between the lines. He was like, okay, cool, yeah, but no. And I had to, oh, you guys are awesome about getting the word out. But it's, he just looked at it and was like, no. And I just came downstairs, saw that a little bit. I knew he was right, of course, but it was a little crushing. I was like, damn, I screwed that up. And he's like, try again. Thank God. And I went back to it, and I just did a sketch. I spent all that day on it. I'm like, I'm doing this sketch. By the end of the day, he's going to have a rework of it. And he looked at it, and he goes, this is 1,000 or whatever it was times better. I love this. Go to finish. One of the greatest. I will always be grateful to him for that, because it really gave me the confidence to go and hit the CG thing really hard, and just go after it. And guys, I want this campaign to be a success, because to me, I take this, you know, the biggest success it can possibly be, because I will take that as a sign that I've done my job for you guys. You know, it's and I want to deliver, and I want to make this stuff. But I mean, I feel a lot more relaxed about delivering, because I've delivered, you know, 2 other campaigns, but now I feel like I'm part of something that's it's really important, and that's not about it's about the quality and about the fans and about making stuff that's cool. And I feel the pressure and the inspiration. Yeah, thank you so much, Sumo. I appreciate it. Yeah, and I love the chat, guys. I know everybody always talks about that. Yeah, passion and drive can get you through most of life's curveballs. You're absolutely right. And I can tell from your profile pic that you know these things, the importance of connections. And I'll tell you this too, Lloyd, that's a really good point. Is that my brother-in-law is always, he works in the steel industry. He's a terrific guy. He's out of Houston, Texas. And we had a really great heart-to-heart out on his porch. Love that kid. And he said to me, you know, he always brings things back to, you know, what's your why? You know, and a why can endure, you know, a why can endure and solve any how problem. And my why is those 3 people upstairs. My why is how Todd McFarlane was so kind to me when I met him when I was 14. He spelled my name right. He was like everything you want your hero to be when you meet him. And I was just thought to myself, this is like, I am so grateful for those guys. Every artist who's ever inspired me, that's who I'm thinking of when I do this work. There's just, I have such a reverence for this art form, whether it's Bernie Wrightson and let me tell you this too. Let me add this in there. It's a similar thing for Ethan and John. It's a similar thing. those guys could do any number of things with their successes, but they're actually trying to help people. They really, you got to be silly, you got to be crazy, you got to get eyeballs on your YouTube streams, and you've got to do that. You've got to help the community. They can't carry all that shit on their shoulders, but they don't have to try to help people and open doors. Neither one of them. And more often than not, they're kind and they try to open doors for people. Their batting average is exceptional. So yeah, that's my take on it, guys. And we are coming up on 0 hour because Michael's stream's starting in about 15 minutes. So guys, let's do this. I'm going to wrap up here. Thank you guys. Hit like, subscribe if you haven't already. You guys are awesome. Thanks for lifting me up today. I was already doing, I was feeling a lot better, but this is great. This is why I do it, guys. You guys are amazing. Oh, thank you guys. Hey, listen, from your lips to God's ears, I do appreciate it, guys. And for everybody who's been in the chat here today, Sumo, Darren, Lloyd, let's see who else we've got, Arrogant Apparition, and Stephen Rockwood, always in great video, by the way, the other day of your process. Let me see who else. Bogan World, excellent. Robin, make sure I've got everybody in here. Who else have I got? Stephen, Robin, Sumo, Fallout Zone, excellent. Let's see who else have I got. Sumo again. Sumo, you're rocking it in the chat. But yeah, you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for being here today, guys. I really appreciate it. This book is for you guys. This book is for Comicsgate. This book is for everybody who's paved the way in front of us, and it's for those 3 people upstairs, and it's my gratitude for just having this fortunate life. So thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of the evening. I will see you guys in the chat on Michael Bancroft's show. Yeah, peace, love. I'll see you guys soon, all right? Take care and have a great rest of the evening, and I'll be there with you. Take care.
King Kong ain't got nothing on